Hi guys, it's Nathan, and in this video today we're going to go through a day in the life of a boring business owner, a remote service business model. Now the reason why I want to do this video is because a question that I get asked a hell of a lot, especially for people that are really starting up their first ever business. They want to know what it's going to look like in day-to-day operations in this business. And how you can structure it alongside your current 9 to 5 if that's what you need to do to obviously then go full-time on the business. Simple as that. So I've got a coffee. I really wanted to get this video done as soon as possible, but I am a little bit short on time today. But this is going to really give you a good full understanding. So coffee in hand, let's dive in. The model itself, I'm going to go through the model for anyone that doesn't kind of have a brief rundown, but you'll see throughout the YouTube there are tons and tons of videos. The Netflix series, especially if this is your first time seeing me or you're used to the content, go and watch the Netflix series because that will give you a real full understanding of the actual model specifically. So when it comes to like the day in the life, for me personally, it breaks down into 4 core activities. The routine specifically, like if we're going to do kind of a routine breakdown, well then kind of in the morning, I tend to be looking at my leads that are potentially coming overnight or what's coming through on my advertising, whether that be like my local services ads, where you have the dashboard and you can access the dashboard, or just what's coming in organically into the business. I could have received emails, I could have had some missed phone calls, things like that. So I'm looking at my leads especially to start the day off, to see what leads I've got come in and then what I need to do. I'm then going to be taking those leads and I'm going to be going directly to my contractors. Now contractors here applies to 2 things. One, it's going to be jobs that you've already got booked in for that day. I'm going to be checking in with my contractors to make sure that they've got everything they need on site. They're ready to rock and roll, whether that's an ongoing contract or just a general, new one-off project that's booked in for that day. So I'm going to be checking with my contractors to make sure they know and they're on site, they've got everything that they need, basically. They've got access, essentially, they're good to go. I'm also going to be taking some of those leads to my contractors to start discussing specifications and pricing and things like that. So if I've had a few leads come in overnight for a jet wash on a driveway, for example, then I'm going to be liaising with my contractors to see kind of what pricing they're looking at, when they can book the job in, what the specification is, and then I'm going to be confirming that with my leads. Now at the same time, obviously I've been doing this a long time, so I know as soon as I get a job come in what I'm pricing for it. 9 times out of 10. All right, there are still some jobs where they're very big and I need the contractor to take a look. They might even need a site visit, so I could be setting up site visits, things like that as well. So really just kind of day-to-day operations kind of things in the morning. In the afternoon, I'm checking in again with my contractors that they've got the jobs signed off, projects signed off, anything that I need to do in terms of sending out these quotes again as well. There may be some follow-up that I need to do with some existing leads that I've already priced up, existing work. And then I'm just kind of continuously just looking at growth in the business, really. This is where these businesses are so simple. And you see me talk about this all the time, that you don't need to overcomplicate these businesses. So if I'm really dealing with leads in the morning, that's money. I want to be focusing on what new work I can bring into the business, checking that my contractors are all set up. I mainly need to liaise with my contractors for new leads coming in. Checking in with my contractors in the afternoon to make sure that they've got the job done, or if they're about to go onto a site at night as well. There's a lot of night work that can become involved with services. Especially like recurring contracts. If you think about schools, offices, they're usually done in the evening or first thing in the morning. General follow-up with leads that I've already priced up, jobs that I've already priced up, and then just looking at my continued growth. How can I continue to work on my marketing and things like that? That's where I'm always looking at working on a business, not in a business. If I can look at ways of improving my marketing, my sales processes, which is again, I utilise numerous different sales strategies to grow these businesses now. Really where can I continuously push into that commercial market, for example. So that's just kind of a rough routine, but you've got to remember that everyone's going to structure a routine completely differently to what they are doing. If you're working a 9 to 5, you might do a little bit in the morning before work. You might do a little bit at lunchtime just to check in with some contractors, or you might have some jobs coming throughout the day that you need to price up. There might be an evening where you need to do a bit of work. Everyone's going to be completely different, but day to day, especially when you go full time on a business, these are the kind of 4 core activities that I break down. Now, most of you guys will know my background, and I worked for Barrister's Clerk for 11 years, and I worked long hours, so I was getting in. I knew that I wanted to be my own boss, so I was working till 2 o'clock in the morning to make sure I was growing the business. Everyone's going to be completely different, right? If you want to say to yourself, I'm going to commit 2-3 hours per day to this, just structure it in the way that you need to. You don't need to overcomplicate it. I'm a big believer in respecting boundaries in business, and that starts from the start of the business. So respect it around your 9 to 5. We don't want people burning out and things like that. That's not why we're creating a business, right? You've heard me speak about the hustle and grind mentality against respecting your boundaries in business, so respect them. Okay, so 4 core activity breakdown, basically. Now, the way that this is, especially kind of when you're full-time on the business, these are the 4 main things that we're going to be doing in our day-to-day processes. Okay, so first is lead management. So simply, what new leads are coming into the business? Well, if you're utilising a dashboard, so if you're on our main mentorship, you have access to a dashboard, and you can manage the leads that come in there, or you're utilising a CRM at the same time as well. So I'm checking all of my leads, I'm checking my emails, I'm checking what calls I need to reply to. That's where the response side of things comes in. Then I'm sending out quotes, I'm doing a bit of follow-up on existing leads, booking in site visits where required. Now again, the site visit side of things can be run as a hybrid model where you do some of the site visits yourself, or we're getting contractors to pretty much deal with everything, which is what I do now. I used to run more of a hybrid model when I went full-time on my business because I wanted to go and meet some clients and meet some contractors. But obviously when I was in my 9 to 5, I wasn't doing any site visits whatsoever. My contractors were dealing with everything. Now I've worked with my contractors and I know most of my clients very well. I very rarely go to any sites. I haven't been to a site in a very long time. And that is because I know my processes. My systems are in place. My contractors know my systems. My clients know my systems. It works well for me really well. Okay, so next thing, just expanding on the kind of quoting jobs and follow-up, basically. So how this breaks down is, and why I've done it as a kind of a separate core activity, because it is really important. We're liaising with contractors. Now, that, when we're referring it to quoting of jobs, is going to be, for some of your larger work, the pricing that you might not necessarily know straight off the bat. Because what we can do in the early stage is kind of reduce that time frame down. So you get a call come in, let's say we've got an end of tenancy clean come in, and we don't need to go to our contractors to price it up. Well, we can close that job on the call. So we're reducing that time frame down from lead coming in to booking the job in, because you can literally do it there and then. And that's where we get all of our clients to in the SCC. I want you to be able to do it straight off the back of your hand. And there's a little bit of a learning phase with that, because obviously we have to teach you retail market and so on and so forth. But we want that job closed as soon as possible, basically. It makes a big difference, and then we kind of deal with the back end after, making sure that it's booked in with the contractor and so on and so forth. So pricing and specifications, that's what I'm going to be dealing with on a day-to-day basis. Sending out the quotes, making sure that I'm continuously sending quotes out for the leads that we're getting coming through. And then I'm booking in and doing my follow-up. Like we said, following up with existing leads that we've already quoted, making sure that we've got a good follow-up framework. So we utilise a follow-up framework to make sure that we don't just send a job and then that's it. We just sit and wait for confirmation. Got to follow up with these guys as well. Sometimes you're dealing with busy business managers, schools, gyms. All of these guys are really busy running their own businesses. So we've got to make sure we follow up, because the job might not be a priority to them. It could just be something that they want done, like if a school wants their car park jet washed or something like that. Well, then it might not be a priority, but we've still got to follow up to make sure that they're well aware that we are on this. We want this job. We still want this job done. So there's a follow-up framework that we utilise to make sure that we're actually not missing any leads. Okay, so contractor management is the next thing, basically. So they will be assisting with quoting. Like I said, we want everyone to understand their pricing so that you price straight away off the bat. But you are going to need contractors sometimes. I just had a job recently. It was a 5-bedroom mansion that needed a construction clean. Now I know roughly in my head that I'm probably going to charge around about £1,200, £1,500 for that. And my contractors will probably be 2-3 operatives for a day. So I'm probably paying out around about £600 to £750. Now I know with that client specifically, hopefully they're not watching this video, that I can get 100% markup on my contractor costs because I structure it on a day rate. Now a day rate is a completely different thing, but we're still given a set price, but I know exactly kind of what we're going to be pricing. That being said, I still spoke to my contractor on that one just to make sure that I hadn't missed anything, because it was it was like a mansion basically, and it was done to a very, very high standard, which is why I probably kind of pushed more up to the 1,500 mark. Well, I did push up to the 1,500 mark, just to make sure that I was allowing for any slippage or anything like that. If the contractor said, look, we need another 3-4 hours on this with one person, well, I've already allowed for that. I don't need to worry about going back to the client, because I personally don't like to do that. But if I'm paying out another 100, 200 quid, well then I'm still making best part of £700 myself for a day's work kind of thing, that's taken me kind of 5 minutes to actually price up. So they will be assisting with quoting. Again, if we can avoid that step, fantastic. It's just going to reduce the time down to booking the job. Booking in the jobs, like we said, make sure that we've got everything confirmed and we get the jobs booked in directly with the contractors, so you have to have cross-reference on diaries. So that's where the liaising with the contractors will come in on a daily basis. Texting and call check-ins is something that I've personally always done, so I tend to send a text the night before, or I'll even give them a call with most of my contractors, just to make sure that they've got X, Y and Z that they need. They're well aware of the specification, they know the access, if there's any codes or anything like that to get into gates, or you've got mutes going into the site, and make sure they're on delivery on time and things like that. It just kind of depends on what the job is basically. So even a quick text check-in just to make sure everything's 100% okay. You can even check in on the morning of the job. You've probably heard me say this before a few times, but I tell all of my contractors that the job starts an hour before it actually does, just to make sure that they get there on time. Now all of my contractors know that. I've had a few calls saying site doesn't open till 8 o'clock and we're on site at 7. Well, go and get a coffee, get yourself ready for the day, and you're on time. I hate people being late. Flipping hate people being late. Really, really do. No reason why you should be late. All right. So yeah, text and call check-ins before I go off on a tangent. And then at the end of the day, project sign-offs. So again, if I've had a jet wash on a school car park, or this construction one that I've got at the moment, at the end of the day, I'm providing them with my project sign-off sheet, my client details, and my branding, logo and everything on there, and they're getting it all signed off, and they're getting pictures, before and after pictures. I like loads of evidence on my jobs. Take a video of the entire house, I don't care, and then I'm just storing it in a Google Drive to make sure that I've got that full evidence there that the job's been done properly, just in case there's anything that comes back. But if the client signed it off, we know that everything's kind of happy days. I even get them to, on occasions, do a full client walk round. So they do the job. At the end of the day, they say, look, before you sign this off, just want to give us a full walk round, make sure you're 100% happy with everything, tick, sign the job off. Okay, so contractor management. Job completion process, just to expand on this a little bit further, okay? So basically, this is the project sign-off that I'm talking about here, but to expand on that further, which I've just started to do. So client check-in is something that I would do personally. So I would give them a call just to make sure that they are 100% happy with that job, even once I've received the client sign-off and the contractor's done a walk round and they've got pictures and videos. I would still put in a call to my client just to make sure they are 100% happy, even if it's a quick text or an email, because you can get reviews off the back of it and things like that as well that we can then utilise on our online setup, our presence, Google My Business, website. If you've got a checker trade profile, if you've got a BART profile, whatever that kind of looks like in terms of that lead ecosystem, then I'm getting these quotes out online. And yeah, like I said, pictures and videos, if the client wants you to share any of them, easily done at the same time as well. And then I'm invoicing the client for payment. So that job's done. I've seen this so many times in the industry where, believe it or not, people get a bit weird about sending an invoice out same day. I don't. That job's done, it's signed off. you owe me £1,500 if I'm talking about a construction job. I'm invoicing for payment that same day. Because, me personally, I do 30-day payment terms with commercial clients, which is standard stuff in the industry. We have clients that will do 14 days. When it comes to domestic, we do pay on job completion most of the time. Again, it depends how long you've been working with that client and things like that. So you invoice, you expect payment same day, no reason why you can't do that. So yeah, at the end of the day, once that job's done, I'm invoicing for the payment. Pretty straightforward stuff. So these are the 4 core activities that I would expect any business owner that runs my model to do every single day. They're just the 4 core ones. Then when we're looking on the business, so growth of the business, if this is just day-to-day activities, which is really, really simple stuff, you can even get a VA to do all of this as well, if you want to kind of remove yourself out of the process a little bit more. I've always had a contract manager that does mine. I still like to do the pricing and things like that, just where I like to know what money I'm making, basically. And then growth. So we're always looking at growth of the business. So always working on the business. How can we improve our systems? How can we improve, I'll put systems there. How can we improve our marketing? What can we do with existing clients? And we're making sure existing clients are happy. They are low-hanging fruit as well. So, what services can we put into them to make sure that we can get more work out of them? Low-hanging fruit, existing clients are really, really important for growth. How can I look at further commercial growth in the business? Now, if I really want to grow this business commercially and I want those recurring revenue commercial contracts, well then what systems do I need in place and what marketing do I need in place to make sure that I'm hitting those clients, basically? Taking a look at all my profiles, like I said, improving them where I can. When you look at the ecosystem of a lead generation, you've heard me speak about the lead generation engine before. So essentially our ecosystem, if we said this is us in the middle of the ecosystem, which it can be like your website, for example, well then what can we do to add to this ecosystem, which is sales strategies, that will pull people into that ecosystem all the time, right? And I can do kind of a full detailed breakdown on a lead generation ecosystem essentially. But all of these, and they're usually coming back to your website or your profiles, you've got Checker Trade, Bark, whatever you're utilising. Then how can I look to improve on my profiles? Well, that's going to be uploading new pictures or videos from completed jobs, getting I like the little quotes from clients, and then I used to put their logo. So if I had Carl from Wilmot Dixon, if I X, Y, and Z, CJ and we're incredible, did X, Y, and Z for us. I'm just taking that as a quote, as a snippet, putting their little logo, and that's going everywhere. That's going all over my website. That's going on my Checker Trade, my Bark profile, Google My Business. I'll just get it out there for everyone to see. I love social proof. That real trust in the business essentially as well, and that applies to so many different industries at the same time. Partnerships. Where can I look to grow in partnership? So again, this is something that we have a lot of a focus on, is that there are the larger facilities management, there are the larger cleaning companies and things like that will subcontract work. Now we want that work. So I partner with numerous FM firms and things like that, because essentially they're doing a full online presence and then I'm just the one doing the job. Even though I'm essentially subcontracting at the same time as well, or using my independent contractors, I'm still getting the job done. They don't really care. And there is a lot that they subcontract at the same time as well. So upsells, kind of in relation to existing clients, again, improving on that low-hanging fruit, and then improvement on the website specifically, which is usually kind of this middle section here. I've always loved improving websites because, they just really, really develop. You get more and more from, which is a main lead ecosystem. Even if you're writing a blog once a week, or you've had a really good case study, if I've done this 5-bedroom mansion, it's worth me kind of doing a case study about it. I used to do case studies for absolutely everything, just a bit of kind of social proof out there. So continuous growth in the business, basically. How can I always look to improve on my business? Systems, marketing, existing clients, upsells, expanding on my profiles, improving on my lead ecosystem, continuous development and working on my business, which is how we will succeed at the end of the day. We've done £10,000 in profit this month. How do we do £20,000 in profit next month? That's the goal, right? So this is the 4 core activities, which is in the day in the life of a boring business owner with a remote service model. Rough idea on routine, but honestly, come up with your own routine. It's easily done. I personally like to have a structure. I like to know how my kind of day is set out. And the model itself, as you know, customers into the business, contractors, and then rinse and repeat the cycle pretty much. But check out the Netflix series if you want a full understanding of the model. If this is the first time that you're seeing us, or even if it's a second time, it's worth kind of refreshing your memory on that Netflix side of things. I hope this helps. I think I've spoken about this a few times, but what I'm continuously seeing, especially in like the online space at the moment, is there's just so many people coming up with these weird concepts at the moment, and AI OnlyFans or something like that, for example, which is why I love teaching what I teach and the business that I still run to this day so much, because this is a real world service business. And that matters to me, that you guys get as much knowledge around this as possible, so that you can watch my YouTube, you can watch my Netflix, you can join my school community, and you can go away and do this yourself. And at the same time, yes, the SCC is a business for me. So if you do want hands-on support with a mentorship, you are more than welcome to book in a call, and we will see if we are a good fit to work together. Because full transparency, if we're not, we will tell you. And if you're not happy with the way that we mentor, then no hard feelings. Hopefully you've got enough to get this done yourself. So any questions, drop them in the comments. I always address them personally. At the same time, like I say, you want to book in a call with us, hit the link, and you can chat to me or my team, and we'll see if we can help. I'll see you on the next video.